After about a year of owning the Sony FX3, I think I can safely say it's the best budget cinema camera out there. I know it hasn't exactly been easy to get your hands on an FX3 since its release, but now as there seems to be a lot more inventory popping up, a lot more people seem to be grabbing one, and you might just be wondering if it's really worth it. So today, I'm going to go over the good, the bad, the ugly, best use cases, my favorite aspects, and what I would absolutely still like to see added to this amazing camera. But trust me, all of this will still absolutely show you that this is still the best budget cinema camera around. So let's dive right into its features. Starting with the good, it records in 4K with a 10-bit 422 codec, can shoot up to 120 frames per second, has active cooling with a built-in fan, one of the best in-body image stabilization systems out there, and an XLR handle attachment for if you're really serious about your audio. It has dual native ISO, which really helps with low-light shooting, has dual SD card slots that are great for shooting huge projects. There are quite a few custom buttons that you can program to fit your every need, and the tally lights in multiple spots on the camera are just perfect for being able to tell when you're recording. Now, let's talk about the bad. The battery life is nothing special at all. Now, coming from the Sony a6300 before I got the FX3, the battery on that camera just died within 10 minutes and the camera always absolutely overheated, which made it impossible to shoot long projects. So the battery on the FX3 is nothing like that. The battery doesn't cause this camera to overheat, and it does last longer than 10 minutes. But if you are going to be shooting longer projects, the battery that it comes with is just not good enough for that. I definitely think you need to grab some better external batteries to run this camera, or you could even grab a power bank like I do when I've attached it to my rig. This will definitely help you get more longevity and get you through a long shoot. Next would be the lack of built-in ND filters. I feel like a lot of the serious cinema cameras out there have built-in ND filters, so this is definitely a negative for the FX3. I know adding a variable ND filter to the camera isn't a huge deal, it's not a big hassle, but this absolutely would have been a welcome addition. I actually did do a number of outdoor shoots where I did forget my ND filters, so this was a problem for me. So if you were forgetful, if you don't want to run into those issues, not having built-in NDs can be a problem. Next, that brings us to the lack of a viewfinder. Now, previously I did talk about this in another video where I was talking about deciding between the Sony FX3 and the a7S III and which camera is better for you. Now, at that time, I did say it wasn't a huge deal not having a viewfinder, and I still don't think it's a huge deal, but it would have been nice to still have one because looking through a viewfinder really helps take you out of your natural environment and helps really suck you into the frame, really helps suck you into what you are shooting and what you're filming. So being able to look through the viewfinder to frame your shots and to just really bring yourself into what you are shooting, I think would have been a completely welcome addition to this camera. Now, I know there are ways around this, so if you do attach an external monitor of some kind, and a lot of them do come with these little hood coverings to put on it, you can actually bring that quite close to your face and it'll almost have the same effect, but I do know that the a7S III has a best-in-class viewfinder, so it just would have been awesome to have that in this camera as well. Another feature that would have been nice to have included on this camera would have been the ability to record to external hard drives. I do know some cameras do allow you to do this, including some cameras from Blackmagic. So it would have just been great to be able to have a huge hard drive attached to this camera that I can just record directly to. Again, not a deal breaker, but little things like this would have really taken this camera to the next level. And finally, let's talk about the ugly, if we really do want to call it that. That would actually be a lot of features that are typical of cinema cameras that is just missing from the FX3. In addition to the built-in missing NDs, there's no timecode, no true 24 frames per second, no SDI output, no internal RAW recording, and there's no waveform, false color, or other exposure monitoring features. These are all features that a lot of people consider to be essential to be classified a cinema camera. And a lot of this could probably be added in a software update, so it's quite frustrating that Sony hasn't updated the camera to include some of these features, or that it just didn't outright include these features from the get-go. What makes this even more frustrating is the fact that Sony does advertise this camera as being part of their cinema lineup. It has a cinema badge on it, so it really is considered a cinema camera in Sony's eyes. So if it is classified that, and if they really wanted to make this differentiated from the a7S III, it really should have included some of those features. Now again, this camera is more than functional as is without a lot of these missing features, but if you want to use this on a bigger production, those are things that would make it much more difficult when trying to work with a bigger team and sync multiple devices and cameras together. But that's why I always call this a budget cinema camera, or a cinema camera light. It still does have a lot of features that cinema cameras do have, and it absolutely produces a beautiful image just like you would get from any other cinema camera. And on top of that, it really does come in a much smaller form factor, which I think still makes this a worthwhile addition to the cinema lineup. So that brings me to the use cases for this camera. Would it be a great camera for a big budget production? Well, yes and no, for the reasons that I just outlined. You can absolutely use it as a B cam or a C cam or even a crash cam, but using this as your principal A camera might be a little bit challenging on a big production. So I would definitely say that this camera is much more geared towards solo shooters. I know we're reaching a point where people think it doesn't matter what camera you have because they'll all produce a nice enough image now. And while yes, I partly agree, I also still think there are enough differences between the camera offerings out there, and if you really know what you're doing, you can really get a better look out of some of these cameras more so than others. And it all really comes down to how you like to shoot and what is efficient for you. I find that the FX3 is such a versatile camera that it can be used in almost any situation, from run and gun shoots to interviews to more studio-based shoots. It really is great in all these different environments and settings, both indoor and outdoor. And that takes me to my favorite aspects of this camera. I would say one of my absolute favorite aspects of this camera is its form factor and size. It's so small and compact and lightweight enough without feeling cheap, and it can be used as is or rigged up in a variety of ways. It really can be quite modular once you add a half cage or a full cage to it, which will both allow you to set it up in a number of ways. I set it up as a compact run and gun setup, which is great for if you want to be more lightweight and inconspicuous, and if you really don't want something to be weighing you down, making you hot and sweaty, and just making your shooting experience a little more challenging and difficult. And to sidetrack here for a second, to talk about other things that also help keep you cool and dry and not really bog you down and weigh you down, I just want to take a moment to talk about a lot of the clothes you have been seeing me wearing in a lot of the behind the scenes footage in this video here today. Clutch clothing is just so awesome, and they continue to outfit me with a lot of the best looking clothes that absolutely feel comfortable and are made of such great materials that keep me cool and dry while I am out and about doing those crazy outdoor shoots. I have done a lot of shoots out in the heat of summer in the middle of the day when sun has been beaming on me, and when I was wearing other clothes that I owned, I was drenched in sweat and super uncomfortable. But when I wear my Cuts clothing t-shirts and even the shirt like the one I'm wearing here today, I was absolutely much drier, much cooler, just much more comfortable overall. Cuts continues to expand their offering. When they started off with just t-shirts and hoodies and sweaters, they've just completely blown up their offering and offered pants, shorts, hats, and everything in between. And what I really do like about their summer collection is that they do have these button-up shirts and these nice shorts over here. So if you're looking to get some clothes like this to be looking professional, looking stylish, and just overall being comfortable while you're out and about doing a shoot, check out Cuts clothing. And if you do head to the link down below in the description, you can save 15% off your entire order. So don't miss out on clicking that link and saving today. But if you don't really care too much about keeping yourself dry and lightweight and cool, and you really don't care how big or heavy your camera rig is, you can absolutely rig out the FX3 to be a full cinema rig build out. I've done that. I've actually played around with a couple different setups for this camera in different rig variations, and I actually do typically like to use the big full cinema rig, as I like to call it, more often than using a smaller setup. That setup is definitely much larger and heavier, but it's still lightweight enough where it won't break your back, while being hefty enough to give you that smooth control you need. And the next thing I love about the FX3 are the tally lights. I know it seems like such a small thing, but it is so useful when you can see if you're recording from any angle. It really is a time saver if you don't have to stop what you're doing, walk over to the camera, go to the back of it, and look at the screen to see the little words recording. So these tally lights are just one of my favorites. It's absolutely awesome, and I'm so happy that Sony included a bunch of them on this camera. And finally, I just really love the look of the image this camera produces. People talk a lot about color science, and a lot of people say that cameras like Canon actually have superior color science to Sony cameras. But with the FX3 and a lot of the cameras in their recent cinema lineup, it really does match or even surpasses the look and the color science of Canon cameras, in my opinion. The FX3 really does just produce a beautiful image with beautiful colors right off the bat. And when paired with some fantastic lenses like the SLR Magic Microprime Cine lineup, it is just a match made in heaven. So what's my final verdict of the Sony FX3 after a year of using it as my main camera? Well, although it is missing some truly cinema level features that most cinema cameras have, it really is a workhorse of a camera that produces a great looking image that really does rival some of the best cinema cameras out there. And I really do think it is one of the best budget cinema cameras out there today.